and welcome to our ongoing discussion of issues of importance to the Caucasus. I'm Dr. Joanne Lasowski, author and journalism educator. Today I'm joined by my friends, Ambassador Arif Shakmarli, former Azerbaijani ambassador to the Council of Europe and the European Union, and Mr. Alex Rafonglu, U.S. Azerbaijani journalist. And welcome, gentlemen, and thank you for joining our discussion today. It's been 1 month, and we still have heavy fighting despite 3 brokered ceasefires. Just heard this morning when I woke up that the Prime Minister, or Secretary of State Pompeo, has actually made a call to both the Prime Minister and the President of Armenia and Azerbaijan. Any idea what went on in that conversation, Arif?
Thank you, Joanne. The very recent news is that Azerbaijani cities have been shelled by Armenian artillery. 7 people are dead, including 1 child of 7 years old. As you rightly said, that all 3 brokered ceasefire agreements have been broken. I believe that, of course, Pompeo was calling just to say that we agreed in Washington, D.C. to have a ceasefire agreement, and why it's not kept. And I'm sure that what both of President Aliyev and Prime Minister Pashinyan would say, of course, they will put finger on each other. It's natural. But as I said before, I don't believe that at this moment any ceasefire is possible. The tension is high. There is no chemistry between President Aliyev and Prime Minister Pashinyan. There are like mutual humiliation of each other. There is like languages is not also giving any sign of possible future good scenarios. We see also Russia is also supplying more arms to Armenia. President Aliyev, if before he was hinting on this, now he says it openly, that there are supplies of on the daily basis of Russian arms to Armenia. We see also in Azeri pro-government media saying that Russian military base in Armenia also supplies directly Armenians in Karabakh with their weapons. So the tension is high. In fact, the last meeting in Washington, I believe that probably the ceasefire will sustain for a few days to let American elections to go smoothly. And I believe that, of course, one of the mediation efforts was also to ensure that it would give positive points to President Trump, because he also spoke about that. He said that we had very good deal in Washington. I am proud of my team, he said to Secretary Pompeo and I think that National Security Advisor. But again, almost immediately, just a few hours later, there was already a violation of ceasefire, and we see violations every day. We also see tension on the border with Iran is growing up. Iranians massed their tanks and military to the border with Azerbaijan, saying that there are lots of shelling. Of course, occasional, not intentional, from both. They say that they're coming from both Armenians and Azeri forces in the region. So unfortunately, tension is not going down. Probably Secretary Pompeo, instead of calling to Pashinyan and Aliyev, he should call to Mr. Erdogan
in Turkey. We're losing Arif.
or Çavuşoğlu. Probably he should call to Çavuşoğlu or Lavrov. But I've heard today that Lavrov.
So Arif, we lost you a little bit. You said for him to call the Erdogan, and who else?
I believe that instead of calling Prime Minister Pashinyan and President Aliyev, he should call probably Çavuşoğlu or I don't know, or maybe Erdogan, and on other side probably Lavrov, which according to some information got COVID today, so that he's infected. Lavrov. Probably this is this is also not very good news. Because I believe that all co-chairs have to be very active. Unfortunately, France lost credibility with lots of wrong messages, and probably, at least for now, mediation of France wouldn't help a lot. We also see tension between Turkey and France growing over criticizing criticism from Erdogan to France over treatment of this caricature on Muhammad, and there is growing tension in different countries. So I don't see, at least for now, any solution, but probably there should be more mediation and more contact with Turkey, because now Turkey is a player, whether someone might like it or not. Even the Russians understand that Turkey is already on the table. Everyone wants to push it back from the table, but Turkey keeps the table and says that if I don't get my seat at this table, nothing is possible. Probably this is a reality, and we have to take this reality into account. That's it. And probably I will add at the second part after Alex has his point.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Alex, what do you think was involved in the discussion with Secretary Pompeo?
Yeah, of course, Ambassador obviously set the stage perfectly well, but there are a few notes I would like to highlight. Let me just start by reflecting something that doesn't really, echo international, opinion about this conventional wisdom in this town, that humanitarian ceasefire doesn't work. Not only it doesn't work, each time we sign it, we, the Azerbaijani side, ends up losing civilians. The first one failed because Armenia attacked on Ganja, peaceful city, some 60 miles away from the war zone, and killed civilians. Second one signed, as you know, again, the Russia side was a broker side, and it didn't work because Armenia again attacked Ganja. It was a coward attack overnight and killing civilians again. The third one, as you all have witnessed, and this morning also, I think the phone call was about refreshing that whatever happened, in Washington, D.C., as you know, the day before that, President Trump was asked about the ceasefire, and he was so much convincing that, hey, it's happening, okay? It's going, the ceasefire is there still. I think it was about testing the waters, to call the both sides and ask them, what is going on there. And then a few hours after that phone call, Armenia attacked Barda, as Arif mentioned, and we again lost civilians. Every single party disturbs me, but I have to highlight 4 keywords to really describe what was going on in terms of this whole ceasefire project, if you want to call it. The 4th keyword will be obviously Putin. And the second keyword, another P word, will be Pashinyan. And the 3rd P will be Pompeo. And then 4th P will be the presidential election in the United States. It's a long P, but we have to take it into consideration. There are 2 major Ps that are, like I mentioned the other day, misses this conversation. That's the people on the ground. Azerbaijani people, Armenian people, they are missing this, they are being ignored a huge way. Let's start with the first P. Putin, when this Washington negotiation started, even before the ministers landed in Washington, D.C., we heard signals from Moscow, highlighting that, the Washington, negotiation is part of the Minsk group's joint efforts. I don't think Putin was really looking for some separate channel, like separate negotiation channel at that point. He was thinking about, when he was talking about Washington, I think they were thinking about, the United States playing its role as a Minsk group co-chair. But what happened in Washington, obviously Pompeo was trying to bring the ministers together and try to, reset the negotiation process. And as we discussed last time, we were hoping that there would be something tangible, something more than just, humanitarian ceasefire calls, because there is no way to, expect from Armenia to go back and pursue that, because, they have options to manipulate and, blame Karabakh Armenians, on, not following the agreement. But what happened in Washington, I think Putin didn't expect that, because Pompeo was trying to take the initiative and President Trump was trying to use it for his presidential election bid. As you know, that he's under attack. He does need Armenian votes, particularly the 6, battlefield, states. He was in Pennsylvania yesterday and some other states that today he will be in 3 states. And each time he shows up there, Armenians are showing up with their flags. They keep asking about, they don't ask any question. All they're yelling is Armenia. And then he keeps responding, oh, Armenians, and keeps talking about Armenians. My colleagues in Baku keep asking me, why don't we hear anything about Azerbaijan? I never had the chance to explain that, because no one asked about Azerbaijan. It was about Armenia only. It wasn't even about what's going on around Nagorno-Karabakh. It's just, hey, tell me what do you think about Armenia? And he's like, hey, Armenians are great people, and I want to help, all this stuff. So it's taken out of context, but that's not the point. The point is he was trying to use this for his re-election process. So he wants to get more votes, but I think it will take a day or two for him to understand that Armenians will not vote for him anyway. So that's what we hear from the community members as well. So that's why you're using it for that purpose. And also, I think Putin trying to clearly undermine what is going on in Washington. So we ended up losing another 4 this morning, and over 10 people voted. I don't know what the latest numbers are right now. I already mentioned 7 civilians were killed. I hate to say that, but it is not working. It's not working, and we need to, think about that, because there is a third P I mentioned, it's Pashinyan. We need to send out clear messages and something more than just humanitarian ceasefire calls. There is no way to monitor that, and we all, wake up to, casualties, and no one is taking the responsibility.
Thank you, Alex. You made a very good outline here with your 5 or 6 Ps, if you include people. But I would like to add a 7th. I think we're on to 7 Ps, and that's past. Some people who are criticizing and evaluating and analyzing this conflict are taking us back to World War I and even earlier. Is this an effective way to try to win the peace? What do you think, Arif?
First I would like to thank Alex for very good, point, and with this piece and connecting the dots. I agree that these elections are U.S. elections are very important, and of course, Putin wouldn't like that the U.S. takes the lead in negotiations. In fact, I believe that Russia was always very jealous and intervening whenever there was U.S. mediation. In fact, Russia did everything to keep U.S. out of negotiation process. In fact, even today, I think that brother of Armenian, that time Prime Minister Vazgen Sarkisyan, said that shooting in Armenian parliament in 1999, when Key West talks were going on and there was a big role for the U.S. diplomacy, he said that the Russian security was behind shooting in Armenian parliament just to disrupt completely the peace negotiations. P. Pashinyan, I believe, is very important. He should understand that coming back to the pre-war table is not possible anymore. Probably now, many Armenians would agree on any of the deals that have been proposed, the Madrid principles or Kazan principles. But the time is gone, Now Azerbaijani army has liberated already 4 of the out of 7 regions. And the price is very high. The price of liberation is blood, while it could have been the ink, and I prefer the ink and wisdom works rather than the blood. Comparison, there are lots of comparisons with the First World War. I do agree. Even set of countries, we see France, Greece, Caucasus, Armenia, Russia, so that and even tension is as high as it was in that time. Probably tension on the diplomatic area is also growing. Probably it's even heated than the tension in the battlefield, and I believe that it will go even further. With the elections, I do believe probably something could be done, but neither side is ready. And Armenians, again, they attacked civilian targets. Again, Barda, last time, as Alex said, last time it was Ganja, now civilian city, Barda. It's not shelling on the military unit. It is a shelling of the peaceful Azerbaijani city out of Karabakh autonomous region and adjacent region. So, and well, I would believe that there is something really achieved when at least 3 foreign ministers will come out and shake hands. After the first brokered negotiations with Lavrov, Lavrov came alone and he said that we agreed on the humanitarian ceasefire. Neither Azerbaijani nor Armenian foreign ministers were present that time. Again, we saw at the State Department, I don't know whether the meeting, they came along, separately, and there was nothing, just any, we haven't seen at least 3 foreign ministers. When we would see 3 of them coming out and shaking hands or something, just they all 3 saying something positive, then we can say that something really happened. But just pushing the side, saying that no, it's very important. You have to stick to the ceasefire agreement. Wouldn't work. The tension is high. Even physically, to monitor ceasefire is very difficult because there are front line is too long. Single shooting can provoke violation of the ceasefire. But again, Pashinyan has not just to say that we are ready to talk. He has to say that we are ready to liberate occupied territories. He has to say that we are ready to liberate 7 occupied regions and something and say that we are ready. We present the schedule. He doesn't say that. And Aliyev says that we need at least to have a schedule according to which Armenians will start liberating occupied territories. So on the contrary, we see what they do. His wife, again in military uniform, says that she set up the group of 13 Armenian women, and they're having training in the military camp to go and fight in Karabakh. This is this is absolutely stupid to do this. This is absolutely unacceptable. Instead of her saying that we have to make peace, instead of making appeal to Azerbaijani woman, just saying that she says that we started intensive training. So, and I will go very soon to fight on the front line. This is not right. This is very bad signal. We don't see the same happening from Azerbaijan. Mehriban Aliyeva doesn't say that I am going to fight. So as a woman, she should make positive, and she should push her husband. She should political spectrum in Armenia asking them, enough is enough. We have been playing with these political games. Azerbaijan has always been saying, start liberating something. Nothing for 26 years. And many people say that. We have been patiently waiting for the mediation role to succeed, something to happen. But each time it was like manipulation, like playing the game. And again, now we see the same. Again, I believe that Turkey should have the role. Turkey is already the player. I can understand Armenia would be against of this, but we accepted, for example, France, which is completely pro-Armenian country. They don't even conceal this. And Turkey is NATO member. Turkey is not involved in the war. Of course, their sympathy is on Azeri side, the same as the sympathy of French government is on the side of Armenia. So we want, some substance. Just going for the meeting, even in Geneva. What can we wait from Geneva? Again, going and nothing happens afterwards. Of course, it discredits also mediators. I can imagine it's not good for American elections because Trump came out praising the constructive and very positive spirit of the talks. It's bad for him because of the elections. It's bad for Russia. But again, we see more arms coming to Armenia. Unfortunately, President Aliyev says that we know the quantity, the number of flights, when they fly, what is inside these transport planes, and again, I don't exclude that Russia might act more aggressively. For example, and Aliyev hinted on that. He said that yes, there are Turkish F-16 planes on the air base. They are not participating in the military operation, but they are like warning for those who would like to intervene militarily and attack Azerbaijan. So, and he said that if we are attacked, then these F-16s might be used to defend us. So, unfortunately, for now, I don't see any good scenarios. It's between bad and very bad.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Is there anything that you can think of? I mean, help me understand this, and I want both of you to think about this. Is there anything that Armenia could do, or what are they? Let's go back to this. Is there anything that Armenia is requesting that Azerbaijanis would consider reasonable?
It's a very, very good question, John. I really appreciate that question. I am trying to get my head around. To be honest, there are two separate, lines that we could take a look at. One is like militarily, obviously. Armenia is like the message is, hey, back off. Just don't attack on us right now. So just stop shooting, and then we can return back to the negotiation table. Like Arif said, there's a huge amount of fog of war. For many years. The reason why we're here, right now, is that because Armenian military, they have been controlling the mountains, and Azerbaijan recently started controlling the skies. Will that last longer? The winter is coming. I'm not talking about winter in the US. it's a winter on the mountains, and it's gonna be really hard militarily. And maybe like stopping the let's say if Armenia itself initiates something that would move the needle militarily in the region, particularly on the mountains, maybe that would be some negotiation, some point to discuss behind the negotiation table in terms of how to exchange. As I said, like humanitarian ceasefire is very important, but if we take an obligation by hoping that we will get some Azeri bodies back, what we get instead, we get more civilian death. So that's a non-starter. I mean, you can't just talk about humanitarian ceasefire and and changing changing reality militarily by just each time we stop fighting, you just attack on civilians. So that is I don't see any hope there. Diplomatically, I've been thinking about Russia these days a lot. When you look at this Russian political spectrum, I mean, we all know in Azerbaijan that Russian Foreign Affairs Ministry is much more Armenia oriented. Like Russian Foreign Affairs Minister, his father is Armenian, so that's why ministry has been playing this provocative role like lately a lot, despite all the signals from Kremlin in terms of not really getting on the horse, as we have this old saying about Russia, that they get on the horse like very late, and once they do it, they act faster. So they don't. So they are basically waiting at this moment. But Foreign Affairs Ministry, they keep each time provoking both sides, and Azerbaijan side in particular. This, as we discussed last time, about Syrian fighters. The first time was highlighted by Russian Foreign Affairs Ministry. But my point is, yes, Foreign Affairs Ministry is playing one role, and then there's also militarily, like Russian military establishment is still different. Shoigu, the Russian Defense Minister, he is like pro-Turkey. He's actually Turkish speaker, so he knows language very well. I think Russians have been accusing him, blaming him for a long time being pro-Turkey. So there's some hope there. Maybe militarily, we would, reach out through Turkey to Russia, and try to move the needle militarily. If Russians, like demand from Armenia to step back, that would work, because Armenians they're hoping for involving Russia. All these provocations, attacking on Ganja, Barda, is all for everyone understands that. For one purpose, to how to get Russia's attention. Armenia has, as you know, this pact that joined, let's say Russia-backed, Russianized NATO version of military unit that Armenia is a member of it, and they want to use that leverage and to get Russia, involved. But if Russian military establishment makes it clear that there's no way for us to support you if you keep provoking by attacking civilians. So because you never know what's going to, I mean, it might backfire. I mean, I've been observing since the first ceasefire agreement, I feel like we failed to give this credit to Azeri government for not really attacking on Armenia. I think this is something that they deserve to get that credit, because I mean, you have patience. I mean, one time, second time, now Barda is being under attack. Is under attack. So how are you going to respond? So I think Azerbaijan should continue what it is doing in terms of not really, not really getting into that provocation, the way Armenia wants to involve Azerbaijan. I think there are some rumors that Aliyev and Pashinyan might meet in Moscow at some point in the near future. So if you obviously look at if we see like today what's going on the ground, and there are rumors that Russians also are sending their soldiers, not really openly, but there's a coward action going behind the scene. So in the short term, I feel that having messaging matters. If Russian military establishment, puts out that signal, clear signal to Armenia that there is no way for you to get me involved through these provocations, this might change the reality. Diplomatically, I think the Washington meeting was a missed opportunity. I've been following since day one when news came out, even before Politico article. We knew about that they were going to invite Azerbaijan and Armenian foreign affairs ministers. But the problem with Washington event was that the U.S. still wants to focus on diplomatic future of this problem, because once the battle is over, which will be over very soon, U.S. You got to have one country at least to take a lead, because Russia is aside, and France, like Arif, the master mentioned, that France lost its credibility, and the U.S. is the only player left, and U.S. want to maintain its neutrality. I wrote an article about calling it active neutrality. So basically, that was an effort to move from passive to active neutrality, but at the same time, they could really establish, something, like tangible, something that both sides. For instance, if U.S. could make it clear that no matter Armenians in the U.S., the diaspora says, we have our national security interests, and we as a country want to maintain our neutrality. That's important. It's better for Azerbaijan, it's better for Armenia, mostly. It's better for everyone. But when I turn back and I go to the Hill, so I see, like, for instance, today there are 4 legislative actions against Azerbaijan and Azerbaijan only. There is no legislative action against Armenia. No one is acting on behalf of Azerbaijan right now. And there's one-sided U.S. establishment is because of Armenian diaspora factor, is just letting them slide with their own, miscalculation and disinformation, and that is not helpful. We need to have clear, let's say there are 3 different branches, at least one clear, unified message from Washington that we are not going to take a side. We are sending a clear signal about diplomatic future, and Russia sends out military signals that we are not going to get involved militarily. Turkey is not involved. I mean, whatever they say, as a matter of fact, Turkey is not there militarily. There is no actually Armenian Azeri Air Force involved active military action in the region. Azeris use their drones and Armenians use their missiles. That's all some attacks happening, but there's an active war. Let's call it the way it is, by its name. There's some battles, but there's no actively Air Force involved war going on the ground. So there's the chance to stop this at this point by sending again clear message from Moscow, military message, and clear diplomatic signal from Washington that no way you are dragging me to this hell. I'm not gonna do that, but I'm gonna be there for you when you need me. Come back when you need me, but make sure you stop all the fire, stop attacking civilians. This is not helpful. And I mean, I've been covering the region for a long time. I have never seen Azerbaijan or anyone in the government of Azerbaijan being this, showing this amount of patience in terms of not attacking back in a scope that we see like what Armenians are doing, trying to drag Azerbaijan into Armenian-Azerbaijan war. This is not Armenian-Azerbaijan war. Let's make it clear. This is Azerbaijan, Azerbaijan's whatever you want to call it. Azerbaijan calls it rescuing operation. Some can call it anti-terror operation. There are, there are foreign military forces are invaded to Azerbaijani territory without any international mandate and against our consent. What are they doing there? So they need to leave and leave now. That's the message. So diplomacy didn't work, failed us, but we need to have a leadership, and U.S. needs to maintain that leadership. I also want to use this opportunity to appeal to the Armenian diaspora. My counterparts in this country, we are all Americans right now. But what are you doing? We need some leadership. We are just damaging the last hope that we have. The U.S. at least might took over this diplomatic initiative. At least, I mean, if you just try to drive U.S. government policy by blackmailing them through elections or whatever tools you have, what are you doing? What is your hope? What is our hope? As a region, someone needs to be out there when we need them. So that's why it was a missed opportunity diplomatically, but at the same time, when I look back and on the Hill and at the State Department and in the White House, I don't see, I also have a look at the Azerbaijani side. I see people keep asking me, what is going on? Is the U.S. turning, its back against us? So if the United States loses, credibility as a, neutral country, at least in Azerbaijan, then I don't see any other, player to step in. At least to be. Turkey is a good friend of Azerbaijan, but there is no way for Armenians to accept Turkey as a mediator. We need to at least, protect that candle in that wind. The U.S. is the last candle at this point, and Russia and the U.S. I think they need to get together, and at some point we need to maybe. There are some rumors. I don't want to break the news, but I'm hearing that there might be a chance that presidential phone call could happen in the near future. We need to take every single opportunity, but we also need to send a clear message, particularly through Moscow, to Armenia that there is no way you're dragging us into this through your provocative actions. What Azerbaijan is doing, this is a rescue operation. People living in Nagorno-Karabakh, human lives matter, and we do care about those people. Armenia needs to, again, when war started in 1992, 1991, back then, Azeris left the region. Why? Because there was a war. Do you understand that you're civilians and there's no way for you, to live there peacefully? You have to leave, or you have to, really understand what's going on. Armenians are, basically using every single tools to put on maximum pressure on Azerbaijan. And what I see here doesn't really tell me of maximum resistance from Azerbaijan. It's just about Azerbaijani, activists or some government officials, sending out tweets, all this stuff. I don't see any international player playing exactly the same role what international community does on behalf of Armenia. One last point I want to give you. I know this goes beyond your question, John, but it's very important. I woke up to a news this morning that Euronews reporters were in Nagorno-Karabakh. So Azerbaijan, they went there, and they got Armenians tried to kill them. So there's a van, the white van, there's a press van, and they were driving through the mountains, and then you could see the video. Actually, Euronews has very good footage about that, showing how missile comes towards them, and they just bypassed them, but it was clearly targeting them, and there is no international reaction. There is no press freedom organization standing up and talking about it. A couple of weeks ago, like in the first week of the casualties, we heard news about casualties from Armenian side. Some reporters, emerged in Nagorno-Karabakh again in the war zone. And when Azerbaijan was attacking, back then there were some reports about them being, basically targeted, which we couldn't really clarify independently. But there was, there's an awful number of reports about that. All international organizations, media organizations, Azerbaijan is attacking Armenian, attacking on press, representatives. But we have a clear footage showing that there's a van, media van, is driving out there. They are doing what journalists are supposed to do, and being targeted. And there is no single statement from the international community. My point is, yes, this is one side of the game. We understand. The international community is on Armenian opinion. It's on Armenian side. Thanks to Armenian diaspora. But I'm still trying to fathom, what are they doing? What are they hoping for? So, okay, you just change this international, opinion, and then try to pressure on Azerbaijan. And then what's next? Who is going to step in and take us out of this mess? We need to have a clear exit strategy. And whoever got us in this, they failed to show us exit strategy. And we see some attempts from international mediators, but we also see missed opportunities. 3 times, humanitarian ceasefire just failed because of Armenia. And it's not just I am saying it, just take a look at the chronology. Just a few hours after they announced it, Armenia attacks in Ganja, and then again in Ganja, and this time Barda. I don't know. I am not hopeful, but I really hope that next couple of days, particularly if the rumors that we're hearing about, presidential phone calls, and also, as RFA mentioned, there'll be a negotiation process will kick off in Geneva 2 days from now. Maybe it will help us to move the needle, but someone has to tell Armenia, particularly from Moscow, that enough. You can't provoke me into this mess. This is not how you do that. If Azerbaijan intends to attack on Armenia, let Azerbaijan do that. So each time they provoke Azerbaijan says, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to continue what I'm doing. I'm just getting my land back. And those folks, particularly foreign terrorists, representing foreign countries' military forces, they need to get out. But civilians need to stay. And all you have made it clear, they can stay and they can live with us. So I don't understand what else we should hear from the Azerbaijani side to understand, clear, boundaries. So I mean, I can't really fathom this. This is so much. This is very complicated, and it's hard to put in the context.
Thank you, Alex. That sort of brings me to something that I am very interested in learning more about as a journalism educator and following journalism and the whole idea of conflict reporting. And this is such a highly contentious war. And information has been, and disinformation has been disseminated on both sides that directly contradict the other. I mean, if I were talking to an Armenian journalist right now, just like you, Alex, he would be telling me that the ceasefires were brokered, and then immediately Azerbaijan broke the ceasefire. It's clearly, they are solely believe their side. And I'm just wondering, how can a journalist stay neutral? I know Christian Amanpour says truthful, not neutral, but how do you even decide what truth is when there aren't a lot of independent people in the area making judgments about what's coming on? There's usually just journalists from one side or the other that are making these assertions. So how do we possibly get anywhere if we can't get real truth about what's happening?
This is a very good question. I don't want to give a chance to RFA first because I spoke a lot, but I do have something to share.
Arif, what do you think? How do we get the truth in this conflict?
From what you see on the scene, you can get the truth. As Alex said, that when the first ceasefire was agreed, even if it's always very difficult to find out who fired the first, but fire with the Scud missile to the densely populated city, to the city center where thousands of people live, destroying completely one part of the city, was, it's very easy to understand. There wasn't fire from Azerbaijan to Armenian populated cities. Probably on the front line, there are always firing, but of course, when you fire tactical operational missile like Scud missile, which is forbidden by international law, to the densely populated city like Ganja, is of course, it's very easy to find the truth. Second time, as today, on Barda, in fact, this is the third time. The second time was also again Ganja city. Now again, this is against Barda city. I believe that, as Alex said, that U.S. has to step up with more, not just for the sake of elections. Unfortunately, for now, what many believe, and I believe that it was mostly just decoration, like President Trump, and he didn't say that. He appealed to Armenians that they are good people living in the United States. We like them. We will help them. U.S. has to be, as a mediator, he has to be balanced. Says that we both Armenians and Azeris are important countries where we work with Azerbaijan on several issues like NATO peacekeeping, just saying that, oh yeah, you know, your Armenian lobby, you are good guys and we'll help you. You know, you would help them against us then. You know, of course, they particular mediators should be more careful about their language, because we hear that. Azerbaijanis hear when President Trump appeals only to Armenian community in the United States. Oh, yes, of course, they're important, they're wealthy, they have lots of money, as Trump has, but putting them, like prioritizing their interests over Azerbaijanis, is not right. Another point, which is away from your question, is that unfortunately we might see widening of this conflict to other parts. Like yesterday, Russia bombed Idlib city. For a long time, they didn't do it because of the agreement between Turkey and Russia. In Idlib, there are sectors divided. Russian aviation bombarded Idlib, and I think that over 60 civilians died. Many believe that Russia did it just warning for Turkey, because they have been working together in Syria, in the Idlib region, and you know, firing and destroying. It is almost the same. Like Idlib is also one of the key Syrian cities, and targeting civilian areas and killing over 60 people, including children, is, of course. I also believe that it's not separate. We cannot separate it from the general picture. So that I believe that during our first discussion, I said that the pictures, when you watch through the narrow you know, window, you see smaller picture, but the picture gets wider and wider and wider, as we have been predicting in the beginning, you know. And candles, unfortunately, all the candles are turned off. I don't know whether someone can do something. I don't expect something coming from Geneva, particularly after this firing on Barda city. The firing on civilians makes people angry, and for presidents, it becomes more difficult to make the peace deal. Can you imagine? I have seen like small girl was playing like with her brothers, sisters on the yard. They were like imitating, like cooking something, like and bomb fallen, and this girl died. 7-year-old girl died. Of course, it makes people more angry, and it makes it for politicians to speak about peace, about cooperation, about something is very difficult. About a Moscow meeting between Pashinyan and Aliyev, as I said, there is no chemistry between these two people. You see that from the beginning, when Pashinyan came to power, you saw immediately tension growing. With the previous presidents, there was again not perfect relations, but at least there was some positive dynamics, you know. Now it's also, you know, mutual humiliation, you know, language which is very harsh, and probably something could be reached at the level of foreign ministers. But again, we see that all three attempts failed. So unfortunately, I don't see any good coming out in the few days, particularly after Barda today. I know Aliyev, his psychological you know, picture, and and he also speaks to people, and he says that I always try to speak the truth, and probably after this firing of Barda, things will get worse, unfortunately. My prediction is that.
So, Alex, how do we find the truth? What's your opinion on that one?
Yeah, there's clearly a lot of propaganda out there, and obviously, like it or not, there are some rules when there's a war going on. And one of them is like, I've been observing Armenian, social media activists lately. One of those rules is that, if they love Pashinyan, they expect him to lie. If they don't like Pashinyan, they expect him to lie, because it's a war. So that's the rules of the war. But same time, we, the media community, international community, we need to be able to connect the dots. One of those, pitfalls that Arif mentioned perfectly well, that just take a look at the facts. So there's a negotiation process, there's an agreement, and then a few hours after that, you see there's an attack. So, the attack that is perfectly well documented. Last time, I think second time, Armenian government tried to deny it. But, as a matter of fact, we still have reporters down there, and they could document that. And don't trust on Azerbaijani side or Armenian side. I get that. But you need to be able to connect dots. If you don't know the region, if you don't understand the region, please stay out. This is not where, you're not helping. Don't just, copy paste or retweet whatever you see on social media. Just try to pass it through your smell test first. There are some rules. Again, this is a war, and I understand. And in terms of, even when it comes to civilians, that we understand that there is every single fact that we get from the region contradicts against every single human rights, angle that we believe in, we embrace in this part of the world. But at the same time, there are rules of war. You're attacking on civilians outside of the war zone, and so why is it okay? Who greenlighted that? So, and you can't just wish-wash by talking about one side of the story only. And when I raised my voice, I was skeptical, more skeptical. I still am. But when I raised my voice when Ganja happened, my Armenian colleagues started questioning me that why didn't you talk about what happened in Khankandi? Now I did talk about what happened in Khankandi, and even before that, during this like first days of the attack, first days of, let's say casualties that we heard about, the casualties from both sides. But coming after me or any of us in the context of Ganja attack is the best way to justify your dictatorship, your whatever, like you want to call it, your regimes, I can't even put it in a context because I can't find enough words to describe that, the scope of this inhumanity. You're justifying it by telling me that why don't you just raise your voice, when our civilians get attacked. So we need to, call on the facts. So check your facts. Try to, if you don't know the region, try to, listen to both sides of the story, understand it, and don't jump to the judgment. I mean, at this point, what we see, like the Secretary of State tweeted about that, and the State Department made a statement a couple hours ago, and then few hours after that, immediately after, Armenia attacking Ganja. Just say it. Why would you not say it? Because it doesn't work for your popular narrative. I mean, I don't know. I mean, again, by doing that, you are losing your legitimacy. No one's gonna read you anymore, and then you can't play that international mediator role, even in national media. You can't really. If you try to win one side and then against the other side, you're not helping. Just get out. Let others step in and others cover the topics. I mean, if you are going to be mouthpiece of one side, I'm not going to talk about those who do it on behalf of Armenia, also on behalf of Azerbaijan. They're not helping. Okay, you need to double check your facts. There's a history of this conflict. Everybody knows that Azerbaijan IDPs have been ignored for 30 years, and now they finally got a chance to. I mean, the words are like reminding themselves that except that there are some under million people displaced in Azerbaijan, and apparently we failed to cover their stories. And now I mean, Armenians, same thing. We don't want to, Azeris want obviously do same thing what Armenians did against Azeris 30 years ago, engaging in ethnic cleansing. If they want to do that, they would actively, there's Turkish army right down there. As I said, like it's fourth week of the, war, and the time is against Azerbaijan, by the way. Why would Azerbaijan, break the ceasefire? Like I said, winter is coming. We don't control the mountains. We control the skies, and that won't help us at this point. If it starts snowing down there, which I think is already happening. So time's against us. Azerbaijan does want. Obviously, you just corrected us. You understand right now. Azerbaijan it's the best interest of Azerbaijan right now to stop this war. But Armenia will always try to. It's third time we have been already observing that they try to provoke and break the ceasefire agreement. We don't get any single body back. We get new casualties. We lose our civilians. So again, I'm trying to get outside of this Azerbaijan, viewpoint, because being here also, I have this privilege of being able to read the reports from both sides. But what I see is international community is not helping. International opinion is against us. Is against not Azerbaijanis. It's against all of us. Against Armenians as well, by just trying to reflecting only their side of the story. They aren't helping. So I'm hoping that maybe days from now, weeks from now, they will finally understand that every single missed opportunity is against all of us. It's not like you go out and publish your fake news that will cause more casualties. How will you sleep at night after putting out every single fake disinformation, after tweeting every single fake news? How will you sleep at night by knowing that you are killing, you are the reason why people are dying in that part of the world?
Thank you, Alex. You remind me of something that Ambassador Bryza said when I spoke with him a couple days ago about a 2006 agreement that he thought was very fair to both sides and amenable, and on both negotiations moved on both sides. They were both amenable to the agreement. And what happened was the Prime Minister of Armenia got to the final end of this and decided not to sign this. And I'm wondering, can we go back to this agreement? Can this agreement be in any way have life again, and maybe encourage both sides to sort of review it and think of this as a starting point? Is it possible to get to that 2006 agreement? Arif, Ambassador, Mr. Ambassador, what do you think?
By the way, I would like to thank you for very good, interesting discussions with Ambassador Bryza, with other interesting people. Now we passed this line. Probably now it's over 1 month. It is 1 month and more than 1 month. The war is going on, and that agreement was possible before the ceasefire. And I believe that all proposed agreements, all proposed subjects, or all proposals were equally more or less okay. If it was important just to start doing something. What is wrong that nothing was really moving? It was just frozen conflict. Really, as it intentionally each time when the sides were very close to signing some, once there was a firing in Armenian parliament, then there was firing on Armenian demonstrators in Armenian Yerevan, when Kocharan ordered Armenian military to open fire. I think that 10 or 11 civilians were killed, demonstrators were killed. So that each time when we are very close, something happens. I saw a discussion today on the Russian media. They say that, if there were not United States would settle this conflict once and forever, it is United States. But why? In fact, United States have been many times bringing sides very close to each other. I remember before Key West, the mood was very positive. Everyone was waiting that the agreement will be signed finally. European Union was very optimistic about that. And in 2006, the same. Some nationalists pop up, supported by third forces, and they completely destroy all good, ground that was prepared for the peace talk. Now, you cannot do something, you cannot start some process without consideration of the situation on the ground. Now, situation on the ground is not as it was before end of September, before 27th of September. Now, situation is completely different. You don't have observers. You don't have anyone who can do something. You don't have a line of engagement. It is so complicated. Even maps. If you see one map, you have one picture of the disposition of the armed forces. You have another map, and there are maybe 20 maps or 30 maps I've seen, and they are all different with location of the armies, with the territories which was cleared. So there is no. I don't think that we can agree on starting from zero, on erasing, because lots of blood has been shed, and we want Armenia to liberate our occupied territories. Then we can talk about cultural autonomy. We can talk about Armenians living together with Azeris side by side. We can talk about reconstruction of that destroyed territories. I remember that European Union was very positive about investing in a reconstruction of Karabakh, and I believe that many others can do the same. But for what is the most important, Armenia has to understand that the fooling of their public opinion, the times of fooling is over. They have really present their schedule of withdrawal from occupied territories. Without that, I believe that nobody will understand Aliyev. Then people will say that, so many people died. Why they died if there is no, we don't get something on the ground. Putin, during his speech in Valdai, he mentioned the number of dead over 5,000. Probably it's more or less the same, probably between 5,000 and 6,000. And he said that during Afghanistan war, when 207 million Soviet Union was fighting, during the 10 years, 11,000 died. Can you imagine in 1 month for small countries like Azerbaijan, Armenia, over 5,000 dead in 1 month? It's huge damage to demographic. It's huge psychological. Can you imagine all parents that lost their kids? It's huge, and also civilians. There is no any Armenian civilian who died outside of Nagorno-Karabakh occupied territories. There is not one single shell fallen on Armenia. There was something, they say that in fact Azerbaijani army destroyed some missiles which were going to fire on Ganja, but it wasn't civilian. It was just missile launcher systems. So,
thank you, Mr. Ambassador. You are saying that there's no possibility that we are in a different era, different status quo. There's no possibility to revisit that peace treaty or that negotiation of 2006. Alex, quickly, do you have any? Is it possible to start from there, or have things changed so dramatically that this peace agreement from 2006 is not tenable anymore?
First thing first, John. We need true leaders. What we have got are the drunk drivers who are pushing the people to drive drunk. We need true leaders in both sides Armenia, if you have like prime minister coming out and declaring already the result of the war by claiming that Nagorno-Karabakh is Armenia, that's non-starter. We need true leaders and step in, and first of all, we need to engage in, first of all, resettlement. Armenia needs to stop resettlement. We need to get our IDPs back to the land. And in terms of the future of the status of the Nagorno-Karabakh, I mean, Azerbaijan has its own, version of future of Nagorno-Karabakh, and Armenia has its own, let's say, projects about Nagorno-Karabakh. But we need to have leadership. First of all, true leaders from both sides. We need to restore people-to-people negotiation process. Whatever happens after now, it shouldn't be replication of what just didn't work. And also, Turkey is a new player, and we have new reality, as the ambassador mentioned, and this all need to be taken into consideration. But the first thing, we need to gain our leadership back, among the mediators as well. If we destroy every single tools in our toolkit, the US is out there, is still like seen in both countries as an arms broker. If we Armenianize, US diplomacy through Armenian diaspora, obviously I don't see US, being part of this after all this, it's over. Turkey obviously is on Azerbaijan's side, but we need to again gain our leadership, have our true leaders, and sitting behind the table. And before even negotiation starts, we need to put, as I mentioned last time, I'm going to repeat again, IDPs from both sides. I'm not talking about only Azerbaijan. By the way, I'm not talking about even IDPs from Nagorno-Karabakh. They are Azeris left Armenia. So during the war back then. So there's 300 something. I might be mistaken. RFA, please correct me. I don't recall the actual number. 300. I think 50,000. Azeris left Armenia. We call them Armenian Azeris in Baku. There are Armenians, obviously, left Azerbaijan. This region belongs to all of us. So we need to prioritize human factors, IDPs from both sides, also refugees. There's no difference between IDPs and refugees. They both need to be brought up front and center, as I mentioned last time. Without that, anything that reflects, again, we just, as a society, didn't know about true, actual, let's say, viewpoint from Armenia, because we heard it from, through our leaders or Armenian, mouthpieces, their side of the story. But when war broke out, we learned that for them, this war apparently was over. So they already don't consider Nagorno-Karabakh a conflict anymore. So they moved on. So we need to now return back to reality. We need to come down from the skies. There's a reality in the region. Okay, some people call it like a dispute territory. Azeris say this is my territory, and not only Azeris say, international laws say. And Armenians have claims, but we have international laws on our side. So we need to sit down first and prioritize human factor. People need to go back first before we, start even negotiating. And people-to-people relationship matters a lot. I don't know how long it's going to take to rehumanize each other after all this stuff. But Armenia needs to stop harming it more. They need to stop even, expanding it outside of Nagorno-Karabakh. Whatever is going on right now in Nagorno-Karabakh is sort of justifiable because there's a war, and like it or not, I mean, there's a conflict zone. But if you expand it and go to Ganja, go to Barda, and I don't know what Azeri government will do in response. I'm thankful that they haven't done anything careless, but we need to stop right now and full stop from Armenian side. So understand that IDPs have been ignored for 3 decades, and just ignoring them and living in your own reality, in your own bubble, is not going to bring peace to our region. So all the peacemakers need to understand that we need them. We need to protect them, and we need true leadership at this point.
Thank you, Alex. I want to thank both of you gentlemen. I'm really torn in this conflict because you both have really talked about how important the U.S. Negotiation could be, but we are so distracted in this country right now. And it's just unfortunate that our distraction is possibly costing lives in another part of the world. And that's just difficult for me to understand. But thank you again, Ambassador Arif Sharkmarli and Alex Rufoglu, and good luck to both of you in your pursuits of this information that you are hoping to share with me on a regular basis, and I appreciate your insights so very much. Thank you.
Great talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.